In today's video, we're talking about the latest and greatest trading card craze to break the actual internet. Of course, we're talking about the Ring card from Magic the Gathering's Lord of the Rings set that is coming out in a few days, and to no one's surprise, it's about as bad as you think it is. $2 million for a one-of-one serialized trading card. So in today's video, I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on this, why I think there's a slippery slope with Pokemon that I think we fortunately haven't gone down yet and hopefully never do, and give you a little bit of context into another trading card game, how it is they go about creating hype, and what a serialized card really is. But before we do, as we always do, let's roll that intro. Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. In today's video, friends, we talk about the one Ring, say that 10 times fast, serialized card that is currently breaking the internet. We talk about Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings, Tale of Middle-earth, what's going on with that set, why you've probably seen a lot of hype about it. I'll do my best to break it down, and as usual, we'll provide some commentary along the way. Of course, this is a Pokemon YouTube channel, so I will have to bring it back and relate it back to Pokemon, but honestly, this is something that a few commentators have already kind of commentated on over a period of time. So not necessarily recently have I seen anything popped up, but the idea of serialized trading cards is not new, and it should come as a surprise to no one then that although many people are very interested in this card, it's a slippery slope for any trading card game when it comes to serialized cards. But as we always do, links will be down below if you want to check out any of these videos or buy any of the products. And yeah, here we go. Question mark? So, let's start at the very basics here. Magic the Gathering, the Magic the Gathering, basically the trading card game that kind of led the way for every other trading card game, is one of those card games that actually invites other IPs in order to partner up with them, kind of loop in some new customers and create some intrigue and some variety in the gameplay, of course. So for every Black Lotus, you may or may not have a different set that comes from one of your favorite IPs. It's not unlike Weiss Schwarz in that way, but Weiss Schwarz definitely has more of a foothold in the anime space versus MTG, which is definitely a little bit more kind of in isolated pockets here and there, and this is one such example. So Magic the Gathering is doing a partnership with Lord of the Rings. They're calling the set Tales of Middle-earth, reprinting some old cards from a previous set, as well as releasing some new cards in this set. Now, within this set, there are also some really interesting things going on. This article notes from TCG Player that we've seen Stranger Things, Street Fighter, Fortnite, Warhammer 40,000, all really interesting, different, IPs, but ones that MTG has partnered up with under the Universes Beyond sub-brand. So basically there's MTG the Classic, and then there's MTG Universes Beyond, and this is where they kind of get some of those additional IPs to create some additional intrigue. Now, on June 23rd, which is as of the day this video will be releasing, Friday, Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth is the first product that's going to come out with a complete range of products, including boosters, bundles, pre-release kits, and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? The other really cool thing is that as much as this set is anticipated because Lord of the Rings is a huge franchise, I hear there were some books made that, are pretty cool, and then there were some movies that were also pretty cool. So if you haven't already, you should go check them out. Fun fact, I am not a Lord of the Rings fan. However, I did play this game from The Hobbit that I bought at a Scholastic book fair like in the 3rd grade. So some of my earliest core memories are struggling on certain levels because this game was absurdly hard sneaking around those ogres. Long story short, go play the game if you can find it for free somewhere. I wouldn't recommend buying it because it's going to traumatize you, but safe to say, although I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, The Hobbit tells the story of the ring right before the start of Lord of the Rings, I believe, and so I am familiar with the ring, and you'll see why that's important a little bit later on in today's video. So you've got a ton of different stuff coming out, and you've had previews since May 30th. Obviously, the big kind of drop is going to be the 20th. And the pre-release events happening, within this period of time. That's where you're basically going to see all of the cards come out, all of certain things happening, and probably the biggest other thing is going to be on July 7th, the bundle gift edition release. I think those two will be pretty big ones in terms of just the things that people need to pay attention to and where you'll be able to get product. So obviously this article goes on to tell you about some of the really cool cards in there, some of the really cool characters that are being featured like Gandalf, but perhaps more importantly is this statement right here: you can't have a Lord of the Rings release without the most important item, the One Ring. So this is like, you know, the big thing. And of course, there is this really interesting card right here that has become basically the focus of a lot of commentary and a lot of controversy over the past few weeks. And so here's where the content for today's conversation really starts. Now, from this card, which you're seeing on screen right here, there's a bunch of different variants, right? So there's this regular variant of the card, and then there's this special card right here. And you might say that this is the equivalent of an alternate art or a special art from Pokemon. But things get really, really crazy once you realize how significant this card is. To quickly quote from this article, it says, there's the very special printing of the one card that will only appear in English collector boosters, which has which is serialization of 1 out of 1. So what does that mean? A serialized trading card is a trading card that is limited edition. There are only X amount made, and each of the cards bears a number between the minimum of 1 and the maximum of whatever the serialization is. So as an example, a serialized card that is out of 1,000 will only have 1,000 cards printed, and they will be randomly scattered across packs, and each of them will be individually numbered from either 1 all the way to 1,000. So it's kind of like getting one of those limited edition stickers on a collectible, but just printed on a trading card. So that's a serialized trading card for you. And the other really absurd thing then becomes that this is 1 out of 1. So only one of these will ever exist in the world. The closest thing we get to something like this in Pokemon is a PSA population report of one, because thankfully, up till now, Pokemon has never actually gone as far as to create a serialized trading card. And I do note that I say it's the closest we will ever get because, one, you never know what could change in the future, and two, PSA population reports are only indicative of the number of cards that were ever submitted to PSA or BGS or CGC or any grading company. Realistically speaking, however, there's many more cards that exist out there in the world that are sitting in someone's collection, sitting in someone's binder, or were never even open. So when you think about it, even a PSA population report is not actually truly indicative of a one of one, right? This is a unique piece of trading card history, whether I like it or not, or whether you like it or not, or anything of the sort. And that's because this card will only ever exist in one person's collection at a time, period, end of story. So with this printing, the article goes on to note, it's going to become one of the most valuable and rarest Magic the Gathering cards in existence. Who knows if it's ever even going to be opened and it's publicly known, but there are already numerous offers if the card does pop up from more finance-focused Magic players already. And that's where some other really interesting commentary now has to begin. So, if I quickly flip over to TCG Player, you'll see that boosters, which may include serialized ring cards, are currently sitting at a value of $464. That's the equivalent of $40+ per pack of card after taxes and shipping. So imagine that. You're going to get one pack of trading cards for approximately $40. For a point of reference for anyone who's a Pokemon fan, you know that typically packs used to go for about $4. So that's usually the golden ratio. This is 10 times that amount of cards. So it's absolutely insane to think that we are basically paying 10 times the amount of money for a pack of these Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth cards, basically for a shot at getting that serialized ring card. It's absurd, but that is what it is. Now, in order to get a really good look at kind of what's going on, I found another article, this one that kind of breaks down some of the different cards. And you can see here that there are these serialized ring cards that exist. There's ones for Elven, Dwarven, and Human rings. And here's what's really cool about them. You'll basically get a hollow version, which is of a given number, and then add a 0 to that, and you'll get a non-hollow serialized version. So there are quite a few of these cards that'll be out there that are serialized, that are really cool. As you can see right here, you'll have the serialization right on the lower left-hand side of the artwork, and then the number of the card. So presumably, I assume 700, 1, and 69, and 420 are probably going to be the most expensive. Fun fact, people do actually pay a slight premium, depending on the context, for a very interesting serialization. So, it's one of those things. Now, of course, those are, funny enough, the less rare trading cards that exist within the space, because here is the big boy himself, the one ring to rule them all. This is the 1-of-1 print. You're looking at it right here, and it's going to be easily the most sought after trading card of the year, period, end of story. I know Pokemon 151 is coming out here in the States later. It's already out in Japan, I think, but I think this is going to be the 100% most sought after card. Now, you might have a question. Well, Ryan, this sounds great. Where can I find this 1-of-1 card should I be interested in buying? Well, remember I told you about those $40 packs? Well, you can find them in the $40 packs. That's the collector booster. You can find them in booster boxes of the collector booster, and then you can find them in the gift bundle. So you can see here that the 1-of-1 ring card, they literally had to make a diagram in order to help you understand where you could pull this thing from. Here, right here where my mouse is where the 1-of-1 variant of the card is, so you can't find it in set boosters, you can't find it in the bundle, you can find it in the gift bundle, and you can find it in the collector boosters, and you can find it in booster boxes of the collector boosters, obviously, as well. So yeah, it's a 1-of-1 card. It's going to be absolutely insane. Like, there's tons of stuff going on in this set too, and there are tons of other really important and expensive cards, but it seems like the main focus, for the most part, has been on this 1-of-1 serialized the ring card. So why do I bring all of this up? Well, because recently news broke that there's been a bounty placed on this card, and the bounty for the card was originally $1 million, and then out of thin air it doubled to $2 million about 6 days ago. So that means that a card that hasn't even released yet, with a 1-of-1 serialization, is currently worth $2 million. I only know of a few baseball cards that have ever been higher than that. I do not know of a single individual Pokemon card that's ever been higher than that, and I'm pretty sure Black Lotus cards don't go for that much. So this serialization business has had a real impact on the pricing of this set, the pricing of the card, and the basic mad rush in order to get this card. And you can see here that this article even notes that it was originally $150,000. So clearly, some people with some big dinero are throwing some real big dinero at this problem, because the Spanish gaming store has announced that it's offering 2 million euros for the card. Actually turns out to be about 2.1 million US. They're also offering to fly that person out to Valencia, they'll pay for accommodations, and they get a holiday to go with it, because you're going to get flown out to Valencia, Spain, which is a really pretty place. You should probably go check it out, at least dream about taking a vacation there. So, safe to say, there has been some really, really interesting commentary around this, but this article is probably the best because it just puts it right there. It's like, don't put your coffee mug on it, try not to bend it or blend it, and definitely don't leave it in your pocket and destroy it in the washing machine. Now, here's my personal commentary on this. For one, trading cards are meant to be opened by children, right? As an example, if I literally show you the box, it says 13 plus. A 13 or 14-year-old is a kid for all intents and purposes. And for that reason, it's absolutely insane to think that a kid could have this card in their collection, not even realizing what it is. Now, in today's modern age, it's incredibly easy to be aware that something like this is happening. But in all fairness, it's probably one of those things where this card could end up in a bunch of different historical ways. One, it could be opened up on camera by some entrepreneur, some enterprising YouTuber. Who knows, right? The other thing that could happen is, in theory, it could not be opened up on YouTube but by a private collector, which means the opening was not captured on video. The only reason I think that might be important is because, hey, someone may or may not believe you, depending on whether or not they saw you open up a sealed pack of cards. The other thing that could happen is that someone could purchase a pack that has this card in it, and it could never be opened or not be opened for some time in the near future, in which case people will continue to spend ridiculous amounts of money well above MSRP for products that may contain this card, not realizing that it's already sitting and is basically dead in the water. And of course, finally, the card could be opened up by some person, and that person could end up deciding to sell or not sell, or not even make it public. So it's all really interesting to me, because as I look at this, I see all the possible ways that something like this could go wrong, and I think to myself, well, hey, are serialized cards really worth it? Here's the thing, from a business perspective, they add a lot of fun to the trading card game. Obviously, collectors are going to go nuts over things like these serialized cards, and not even this one per se, but rather something like these really cool serialized elven, dwarven, or human ring cards. You know, they're also really, really cool, and you'll have the ability to pull them just as easily as you would the one, right? So in theory, it's pretty fun. Now, here's the other thing. This is just a snippet of some of the stuff and some of the coverage around this card. Instagram, Twitter, Fox News, CNN, Twitter, again, they literally have all had articles about this. So the free publicity and advertising that serialization like this gives to a trading card game is something that can't be understated either. And again, if we're thinking about this from an analytical, there you go, perspective, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that a good business is going to want to do this every once in a while in order to generate some hype. Now, we're fortunate here in the Pokemon trading card game hobby, and I say that for a few reasons. One, Pokemon hasn't serialized a card yet, and I really hope they don't. The closest thing they ever came to were the Evolution alternate arts in Japanese, and they were given to us in what I consider to be less than stellar boxes, but it's fine because the Japanese versions were actually serialized. Theoretically, they weren't stamped as such, but they were limited to 3,000 of each. So we know for a fact what the number on those is, and by the way, if you want to go online and try to buy them, good luck. My point being, limited edition cards tend to drive prices up, and when you put them in a set that's meant to be enjoyed, it drives the prices of those packs up as well. No 13-year-old has $40 to just randomly toss at this set. So I promise you that the majority of sales that are getting made here are either by investors, stonks, or some combination of probably just grown people in storefronts trying to rip this card, get it on video, blow up on YouTube, and then call it a day, and sell the card and come into a nice $2.1 million, period, end of story. Oh, and that trip to Valencia. So that's great. I mean, it is what it is, but is that really what this card was about? Now, the last thing I'll leave you guys with is something that I thought was really interesting. There is a rumor currently going around that this particular card is currently not in anything that's come out as of yet. So some people have gone as far as to accuse, or not accuse, but lightly hint that the Wizards of the Coast algorithm or employee who is in charge of taking care of this put the card in a gift bundle. So earlier I pointed out that the gift bundle is coming out a little whiles later on July 7th, and the reason that is because these collector boosters right here are something that everybody gets their hands on. Everybody is really quick to rip them open because pack for pack, it is the cheapest way to get packs. And so it's really interesting, but there's an entire Reddit post dedicated to this. And I'll show it on screen, but you can see here that there are really two ways that you could get this card, right? You could get it from the gift bundle or collector boosters. As I was just saying, storefronts get their hands on these all the time. Pack for pack, it's the cheapest way to get cards, and so no duh, it makes the most sense. Open up a bunch of these, see if you pull the ring card. If you don't, you don't, so be it, no problem. However, there was a theory posted on Reddit that basically said that, you know, it's coming out on June 3rd, the set, but gift bundles release on July 7th. That's all orders won't be canceled after a shop or streamer opens it in a box early and gives 2 weeks plenty of time to receive and open their orders. Then the person theorizing decides to say, hey, they've made announcements that kind of seem to hint that maybe the gift bundle is the place to go. You know, and that's kind of the whole point, right? And then from a good business perspective, it definitely advocates sold product, as each bundle only contains one collector booster and Wizards loves their money. So again, from a sales perspective, it's easier to justify the $60 gift bundle, and technically it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what else is in there. You're probably only going after the pack. The reason why Amazon is where it's going to be sold from is because Amazon and Wizards recently partnered, and Amazon is a main hub of product sale and distribution. And then allowing them to be the source of the shipped ring would also bring value to the relationship. You know, if it was something like shipping from a store or a streamer, you know, it might look like it was rigged or set up. And Amazon shipping, it would get rid of the concern of insider interference. It creates a divide between those people who package the product and those who ship it. So it's really interesting because this sparked absolute abrupt chaos. But this is like a really simple, easy one. There are so many other posts going on just like this one that I think are really interesting because they all kind of highlight the same thing. Now, all that said, I do think shipping it in a gift bundle and having it open in a gift bundle is going to make for a more real experience. So I do think that's pretty cool. I think the other thing to bear in mind is that serialization is a double-edged sword. It's good because it creates an opportunity for a really unique story, right? If it is in a gift bundle and if it is something that can truly be opened up in a more quote-unquote intimate, non-commercialized setting, meaning not on stream for some bozo, but, you know, on a small YouTube channel or just on an Instagram post because you enjoy Magic the Gathering and you're not a content creator, but you're gonna, you know, record it for funsies, I think that's gonna make for a really cool story. And again, all of this said, this is the kind of stuff businesses love. Like, this is free publicity up the wazoo. And so, it is my opinion that it's a slippery slope. It's a double-edged sword. Pokemon has fortunately never done something like this, but Magic has, and we can see what kind of real impact it has. It's created a lot of publicity and a lot of hype around the set, but it's also made the set unaffordable for some people, arguably the target demographic or the minimum of that target demographic. And of course, in addition to that, there's also questions about whether this thing will even ever be opened up. I read somewhere that it's like a 1 in 3 billion or 3 million chance. And yeah, I mean, that could prove to be true too. And if it is, then sucks to suck. This card may just never show up in the history of this set. And even if it does show up, by the way, there are already fakes on Instagram and Twitter floating around, but if it ever does show up, it'll face scrutiny. So I really hope it is recorded in some way, but those are my thoughts, friends. And with all that said, thanks again for checking out another video. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like. And hey, as always, if you really enjoyed today's content, consider subscribing to become part of the Gengar Gang. Other than that, friends, let me know your thoughts down below. And other than that, thanks again. Good luck hunting for this thing if you are. Let me know how it goes. And other than that, we'll talk soon. Peace.